put the kids to bed. We got important stuff to talk about because I am so thrilled and so excited and so lucky to have Dr. Debi Silber, S-I-L-B, like boy, not silver, but silver, S-I-L-B-E-R, Dr. Silber on with me today to talk about, I think, something that I think I see great parallels between what she is doing. She's done her PhD in betrayal and post-betrayal transformation. And I see a lot of parallels with burnout. And she is an award-winning author, speaker, coach. She has a new book coming out, Trust Again, in 10 days. She's thrilled. She's got it. Do you have it? Do you have it, Silver?
It's right here.
Woo-hoo.
There
It's
we go.
Beautiful cover.
Thank you.
So yeah, that makes me want to read the book. The cover is about 50%. So, and just so thrilled to have her. Talk to your friends, come to jeffmoody.com, sign up for the email list. I'm sure Debi has Dr. Silber has an email list as well. So we're thrilled that you're here.
Thank you.
And I guess first things first, like what clearly betrayal is a central part. And she's at pbtinstitute.com to get a hold of her. Clearly betrayal is a central part to your life. And if that's a story that you want to talk about yourself or just your clients, I guess what got you in that vein enough that you wanted to spend 2 or 3 years of your life investigating further, getting your doctorate in. I mean, that clearly made an impact on you. Now you're having an impact on it, I guess, is the way I think of that.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's just so great to chat with you and be here. You don't study something like betrayal unless you have to. And I've been in health.
I kind of figured,
health mindset, personal development forever. But then there was a betrayal from my family. And I didn't quite learn all the lessons I was meant to learn. So I got another opportunity, this time my husband. And anybody who's been through it, blindsided, shocked, brokenhearted, devastated. But what was common to the two betrayals was I was never on my own to-do list. It was always about everybody else. 4 kids, 6 dogs, this business. And I was like, no. Now it's my turn.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I did, besides getting him out of the house, one of the first things I did was I enrolled in a PhD program. Maybe not what many people would do. Coming from a betrayal.
My life is in turmoil. I want to start a doctorate. That's my first move. That's my go-to move.
What was even crazier about that was my first Tedx that I did 2. The first one was 6 weeks after the betrayal. I don't even know how I did that. Yeah, I don't even know how that happened.
Anyway, I can't imagine you could put like 2 words together for 6 weeks. I mean, much less a TED.
But there was something interesting about that talk, and I think people knew it. I wasn't ready to speak about this at all. I mean, clearly I was really struggling, but it gets a lot of views, and I have a feeling that there was an energy going on, like there was transformation underway.
And I think also people have great BS detectors and or authenticity, like when something's authentic and it's like coming out of you, like they're like, oh my God, we have to talk this, like the Dare to Lead lady.
Brene Brown.
Like people are like, holy crap, like you touch a nerve. I'm sure it's the same thing with your talk.
So I entered this PhD program in transpersonal psychology, the psychology of transformation and human potential, because I was becoming obsessed with transformation because I was doing it and I didn't really understand what was happening. He was too, separately, which was nice and all, but I wasn't really ready to take a look at that. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal, and honestly, I just was studying it to get myself out of this pain.
Yeah, it was like it was a journey that you were doing it. And this is kind of how I felt about what I went through. I got really burned out 5 or 6 years ago and went through a lot of stuff, learned a lot. I'm like, you know what? If I had to go all through this, I'm like, if I can short circuit that for somebody else or help them from where they are to where they need or want to go, I'm like, holy, let's do that,
Exactly. So I did. So here I go ahead and I do the study, and we made 3 discoveries, which blew my mind. I wasn't looking for any discovery. I was just looking to heal. And so that led to a new business, a new brand, and a new family, a new life.
Wow. That's powerful. And the parallels I see between kind of betrayal and burnout, I feel like to a certain extent, same thing, like physicians put themselves last. Sorry, I have 2 dogs.
I have a bunch. I get you. We have 5 now.
Last. Physicians promise everything to everyone else and never anything to themselves. And then eventually there's none of you left. And I think that burnout, I kind of wonder if that's like a betrayal of yourself.
That's self-betrayal.
To a certain
Exactly. And you know what's so beautiful about that, though? There's something about when everything crashes and burns, because from that space, you can create anything. And what I see so often in the betrayal community, I'm happy to share what the discoveries were, but what I see so often in the betrayal community is there's such fear about letting the old go. So because of that, there's never that birth of the new. Like in my experience with my family, it just wasn't an option to rebuild with them.
Yeah.
But rebuilding myself was a complete and total option.
And
with my husband, a totally different scenario. And we actually married each other again not long ago. New rings, new vows, new everything. We just happened to have the same.
What I've read, like both of you were new too.
Yeah.
Really.
I never would have done it otherwise. Yeah. And that's the gift of trauma. Trauma is the setup for transformation, if you allow it.
Yeah, it's that whole sucky, middle bottom part. But then you have to get into that. So that would be my question. Is like, okay, I'm at rock bottom. Like, how do I even know where to start? How do I find you, or how do I even know that this is a thing? And how do I know I've been betrayed or that I'm burned out? Like I would say it's a 12-step program. The first step is realizing you have a problem.
Well, and you know what's interesting with the people who come our way, there's actually two demographics. One is the person who obviously they were betrayed by a family member, partner, friend, coworker, self. And then there's a very interesting bigger group. And this is the group who their betrayal or their interpretation of betrayal could have happened 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years ago. And they figured out how to survive it. Yeah. And then that they look at that as, well, it's so much better than it was. This must be good. And this is as good as it gets. And one of the discoveries was that there are 5 stages we will go through to fully heal. That's only stage 3. Transformation hasn't even happened, but they spend a lifetime in that space.
Wow. That's powerful, because again, I think, and like you said, I think a lot of people have the much larger proportion of the population has been betrayed, but they've just kind of dealt with it in their own kind of probably not so great way. They don't know about you. And, and they kind of get to this kind of semi-unhappy medium, and they're like, well, it sucks less, I mean, like
that's exactly it. And it's awful. And here's how I'll tell you, this is how if you have an unhealed betrayal, because we see it in relationships, in health, and in work. So in relationships, if you have repeat betrayals, that's an unhealed betrayal. The faces change, but it's the same thing, because you keep getting this opportunity to learn that powerful lesson that you are lovable, worthy, deserving, you need boundaries, whatever it is for you. And if you don't, more people keep showing up to prove that to you already, until you get the mother of all bad betrayals and you say, okay, I got it. I got it. Lesson learned.
I do think like it's something, I have friends or people I know who've been divorced 2, 3, 4 times. I'm like, you know what? At some point, you got to hold the mirror up, because it's not the other people. Maybe,
and people, the mirror. And I'm sure you get that. People say to me all the time, is it me? Yes, it's you. It is. You haven't learned
the. Well, wait, I didn't want that answer.
Right. But that's that's the reason why. The other one is, and I see this all the time too, the big wall goes up. Not letting anybody near me again. Not letting anybody get close to my heart again. And they look at it as a strength. Yeah. And I don't see it that way. That's fear. That's fear of being vulnerable, fear of letting people into your life. And I get it. But if you don't heal that, it's like a life half lived. We're meant to have deep, beautiful relationships.
Yeah, you're blocking off like giant possibilities and giant corridors of your life.
Yeah, it's like getting burned on the stove and then swearing off cooking. That's not fair.
Yeah. Do you feel like, other than the betrayal, which is clearly significant, do you feel like you ever got to the point where you were burned out, or was this all kind of a spectrum for you?
This was and it's interesting because my burnout led to my first book. I thought that I was a holistic dietitian and trainer years ago. And I thought if you eat well and exercise, you're good. That's all you need.
All you need.
And I did that. And I'm like, why am I sitting here with a laundry list of symptoms, illness, condition, disease? I should be the picture of health.
Right. Exactly. I'm fit. I'm fit as I can be.
Yeah, and what was so interesting was I had surgery, and while I healed, I remember at the time studied to become a whole health coach, health expert trained to teach how your lifestyle creates health or disease. And that's where I learned on some level the thoughts I was thinking, the stress I was under, the relationships I had were at the root of it. I changed everything and I healed from everything. And that's what it was. I was so burnt out from this insanely chaotic, overstressed, crazy people life.
Yeah. Well, it was the mental, the emotional,
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable the amount of energy that gets sapped away when
Yeah.
it's not healthy, you know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Oh,
sure. And I'm sure that's a big component for a lot of your clients.
oh, absolutely. Well, they're so devastated. I mean, I really look at betrayal as one of the most painful of the human experiences. Because think about it, you're betrayed by this person who you put your faith, your love, your trust, your time into. And that's the very person who almost takes a mask off saying, no, this is who I've really been. It's a
Yeah.
shock. And that shock, the body cannot process
Yeah. And
that
it's,
shock.
it's almost, it's worse than just like someone being mean to you, like, you know, on the street or rude or whatever. It's like, it's someone who you like let in your circle, you know, like
That's it.
you trusted them so much completely a lot of times, like business partners, life partners, you know.
Yeah. And it's such a shock. It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. And that's why, in the 5 stages, that's this, and I'm happy to go through the stages if you
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
want.
yeah.
Yeah, and because it's such a shock. So, let's all do that. So
Yeah.
that was when we saw clearly there are 5 stages. And what was even more exciting about that is we saw that certain things happen physically, mentally, and emotionally at every stage. And then we knew what it would take to move from one stage to the
Okay.
next. So what was so exciting about that was now healing from betrayal is predictable.
Okay.
Because if
Oh.
someone's willing to,
Oh.
to do those things, they will predictably move from one stage to the next. So here are the 5 stages. The first is like a setup stage. And if you imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. What I saw with everybody was this real heavy lean on the physical and the mental and kind of neglecting the emotional and the spiritual. What does that look like? It looks like we're really good at thinking and doing and not really paying attention to the feeling and being. That's where our intuition lies. We
Well, and
turn that down.
that's what's easy and familiar. You know, I say
That's
the
it.
new how are you doing? Fine. The new how are you doing is busy. I'm like,
Yeah. That
really?
doesn't
Like,
mean good.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's
It's
kind of like a sign of our times, I think. But
That's it.
sorry,
You're so
keep
right.
going.
No, you're so right. And then so stage 2 is when we're blindsided. This is a shock. And there's a breakdown of the body, the mind, the worldview. So you've ignited the stress response. You're headed for every single stress
Yeah.
related symptom, illness, condition, disease. Your mind is in a complete state of chaos and overwhelm. This does not make sense. You cannot process this. And your worldview is shattered. Your worldview is your mental model.
Right.
These people are safe. Don't go here. These are the rules. And in a moment, it's totally shattered. The bottom has bottomed out and there's no new bottom. So this is by far the scariest stage. So you can imagine what this is doing to your body right here.
Your whole life, your whole world just got destroyed.
All of it destroyed.
Yeah.
And then, but think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out, what would you do? You'd grab hold of anything and everything you could to stay alive. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. It's totally practical. If you can't help me, get out of my way. How will I survive this experience? Who can I trust? Where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah.
But because stage 3 feels so much better than stage 2, we're like, oh, and like you said, it like, what'd you say? It's less terrible.
Yeah,
right?
it sucks less. Yeah, it sucks
It
less.
sucks less. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we start getting all these small self benefits from being here. We get to be right. We get someone to blame. We get a target for our anger. We get, we don't have to do the hard work of learning to trust again. We're like, forget it. I'm not trusting anybody. And we plant some deep roots right here. And then we start, it's a whole mindset thing. Because now we're saying, well, maybe I'm not all that great. Maybe I'm, not this or that. And, and now we're planting deep, deep roots right here. If we're willingness is the biggest piece right here, to let go of that story, and we do a couple more things, we can move to stage 4. And stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. Mm-hmm. So you're good with it. You're like, my old normal doesn't exist. I cannot undo this betrayal, but I can control what I do with myself from here on in. And this is like if you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, apartment. You don't have all your stuff there. It's not quite cozy, but it's going to be okay. Yeah. And you're now the stress response, you're turning that down a bit. You're not healing just yet, but you're not causing the massive physical damage you were causing in stages 2 and stage 3. And what was so interesting about this stage also was, if you were to move, right, you don't necessarily take everything with you. You don't take the things that don't represent who you want to be in that new space. And here's where I saw a big change in friendships. If your friends weren't there for you, you don't bring them with you into this stage. You've outgrown them. Really,
Yeah.
really common. And then when we're in this fourth stage, we've made it okay. We can move into the fifth most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. And here's where, we start eating better. We start exercising, self-love, self-care. We didn't have the bandwidth before that. We were surviving.
Yeah.
Now we do. New rules, new boundaries based on what we've experienced. And the four legs of the table, now we're solidly grounded because we're paying attention to the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
I'm smiling only because I think you just described my last 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
I finally feel like again, you can psychoanalyze me later, but I finally feel like I'm kind of to that 5th stage. And that's what I felt with. I'm like, and it's I love your table paradigm. My paradigm is box. So the floor is your past experience. Your walls are your physical and spiritual,
Wonderful.
mental work environment. Your ceiling is your limiting beliefs. And I love that. I love that paradigm. But it's just that process of going through and fixing all those components of your life. And I kind of joke with my clients. I'm like, you know what? Burnout is kind of the result, and betrayal is, I think, also result. And we're going to build you a new life. And the side effect is your burnout is going to be better. Your betrayal is going to be handled, but it's like a new way to think of things and conceptualize how your life is going to be moving forward.
And here's what I found too. If you're unwilling to even envision a life without the burnout, without the stress, without the disease, without the illness, without the weight, you're going nowhere.
Yeah, it's not going to change.
It's a very powerful, it'll keep you rooted. And it was interesting because in the study, there were 3 groups that did not heal. And one of them, in fact, that was it. They were unwilling to accept their betrayal. They were like, nope. They were rooted in that story.
Yeah, I think the thing I was thinking of, the phrase that kept running through my mind when we were just describing that phase 3 was like, how could I have been so blank, so blind, so stupid, so trusting? And it's like this whole self-incrimination, self-doubt cycle that then I think people can't get out of.
And it makes it worse because, that's the thing with betrayal, and that was one of the other discoveries, that healing from betrayal is so different than healing from other crises, death of a loved one, disease. Because think about it, when you lose someone you love, you miss them, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the loss, but you don't necessarily take it personally.
Yeah.
Betrayal feels intentional. So you take it personally. And, the whole self has to be rebuilt. Confidence, worthiness, belonging, rejection, abandonment, trust,
esteem, self-worth.
All of it, So originally I was studying post-traumatic growth because I like the upside of things, how that, whatever it is, leaves you with
the kind of Debbie Downer, part of, betrayal. You're kind of like,
I like the upside. So I'm like, okay, let's study betrayal and post-traumatic growth. But it was so clear that it was a different type of healing. So I asked my study participants and I said, if you've been through other traumas besides betrayal, does it feel different for you? Hands down, unanimously, they said it did. So it needed its own name. So now that term is called post-betrayal transformation.
Wow, that is amazing. What do you feel is your most effective technique or set of techniques? Is it more like coaching and counseling? Do you have programs or training that people do? Is it a one-on-one real intense thing? I mean, I guess it probably may depend on the client, but
no, it actually doesn't. We have based on what the study proved we need to heal. And we've had about 8,500 people take our post-betrayal syndrome. That was the 3rd discovery, that there is a collection of symptoms common to betrayal known as post-betrayal syndrome. They've taken that quiz. What helped me heal and clients. So what I did only a few months ago was put everything under one roof. So I have my programs, which predictably walk you through the 5 stages. We have certified coaches who teach live classes every day. They're certified in the 5 stages, but they're also bringing in their own amazing areas of expertise. We bring in curated experts to teach one-time master classes. I would so love you to teach a master class.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm in there all the time. We have a charity component, and there's an amazing forum with all
Cool.
kinds of just inspiration and support. So there's truly nothing like it. And I created that because when it comes to healing from betrayal, first of all, there's so much shame, judgment, embarrassment,
Yeah.
you know. So they needed something private. So this isn't, this is just a completely private community. And then, it's just so unlike what people do, because typically I see them do one of three things. They'll numb or avoid.
Right.
So they'll use food, drugs, alcohol, work, TV, keeping busy, whatever, anything to not face this because it's painful. They'll go into some support group where it's all about bashing, and the minute you feel better, you don't belong.
Right.
Or they see a therapist, and if that therapist isn't very well versed in betrayal, it does more harm than good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like any of those things.
They probably spin their wheels. Yeah, they probably spin their wheels. I was just thinking that I feel like the other parallel between betrayal and burnout, especially for physicians, is I think so many physicians are like, I can't let anyone know that this is going on, because then they'll take my license away. I'll get reported to the state. They'll take my license away. Like there've been surveys, 60% of surgeons who had suicidal ideation would not, seek help because of fear of licensure action. So it's like the one time in a super stressful, an occupation / profession that you really need help, people feel like it's going to harm them to get help.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting about what you just said? When I was speaking all over, now we can't do that, but when I was, there were two groups that when I would speak, they would be completely stoic. But then when I was about to leave, there would be a line out the door. I'm going to have a heart attack. I can't take it. The pressure's too much. And the two groups were doctors and lawyers. And it was amazing, because I guess you're absolutely right. There's that facade of, I'm good, I don't need anything, I got this all together and I'm totally fine, and there's a very different story going on internally.
Well, and I think also, especially in medicine, and I think in law to a certain extent too, there's that whole Lone Ranger, Superman, Superwoman kind of construct that gets built around you throughout your training. And then once you get out, you're supposed to know everything about everything all the time. And personally, finally, I was like, I found that exhausting. I'm like, I don't know anything about piano repair or roofing or whatever. I'm a urologist. I know a lot about that. But I'm like, I'm going to call the roof guy. I'm like, I can't fix everything myself, but I think a lot of physicians, that's very hard for them not to be in control, not to be seen as the authority, and to be asking for help, to be in that position of vulnerability. I think that's a huge thing for physicians. And then that fear of, if I seek help, I'm gonna lose my livelihood, and the thing I spent 20 years, trying to get to.
And then add to that the frustration of, you're coming from a place of wanting to help.
Yeah.
And wanting to serve, right? So here it's with the best of intentions. You want to be there for your clients and patients, but very often at your own expense.
Well, and I don't know if you're familiar with this data, but the studies all show burned out doctors have higher malpractice rates, higher death rates of patients they care for. I mean, it turns into bad medicine. Right. So it's actually harmful to physicians, and their patients can be. So it's I think it's almost a public health imperative. But I feel like the system, called the medical industrial complex, I call it, is very not set up to change quickly and to be adaptive to the needs of physicians, especially now between the burnout and pandemic. I'm actually I'm doing a virtual keynote in a couple of weeks, and my top title was mental health, burnout, and COVID. This one goes to 11, and actually it's probably more like 30. A lot of the anxiety, depression rates have tripled, and in the exact time where, there's not the bandwidth to help physicians with those stressors, or the fear that if they do, they'll have, licensure action. So
yes, but there's also an amazing opportunity here with COVID, and I've seen this where it is, first of all, it's bringing out the best and the worst in people. True. We are having the time to slow down. With a lot of people are having that time now, and it's giving them that time to take a look and say, wait a second, how was I living? What was I doing? Was that working for me? I know personally, I don't want to travel around to speak anymore.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, wow, I was spending 3 weeks a month not at home. Like
That's
that's not maybe not my favorite,
absolutely. So I think there are so many things that so many people have realized, there's something nice about these family dinners that I didn't have time for, and whatever the case is for somebody. So I don't know. I like looking at the upside of things, and like, for example, I only have to really iron the front of my clothes.
and you could be wearing, shorts and flip-flops.
Jeans, and I am
Yeah,
jeans and flip-flops.
very nice. Oh, so do a watch party. Go to jeffmoody.com. My book's coming out next week. Woohoo! It'll be on sale on Amazon on Tuesday. Go get it, read it, give me a great review, or give me an honest review. That's probably more important. Give me an honest review, but I'd love a great review. Find Dr. Silber. She clearly is an expert at what she does, and she can help, I think, lots of people, lots of physicians. And I think the critical thing always that I feel is that get help, no matter like if it's with me, if it's with Dr. Silber, whoever, please avail yourself of the resources you need to get better. Take off the cape. You're not a Superman or Superwoman all the time. Get the help. Come to my website. Go to pbtinstitute.com. People are waiting to help you, and they're ready.
Oh, that's so great. And what I've learned is the better you are for everybody.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It's like the rising tide lifts all boats.
That's it.
I'll keep rowing. If you keep rowing, I'll keep rowing. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. We'll row.
Cool. All right. Well, I want to be super respectful of everyone's time. Thanks very much. I try to keep these to 30 minutes. Thank you, Dr. Silber. And remember, burnout recovery is for you, and we're out.